This is now part two of my interview with Barak Chacoty, an elite operator from the Duvdevan unit. If you missed part one, you can check it out in the YouTube playlist. Barak talks about his experiences behind enemy lines as an operator in the Duvdevan unit. In disguise, the stories that he shared were really just phenomenal. And in this video, Barak talks about reintegrating into civilian life after military service. With everything that he and his friends went through, how do you become a normal citizen again? How do you take the baggage of war and then live a normal life? He talks about the challenges that soldiers face reacclimating for physical reasons and for emotional and mental reasons. Take a listen to what he has to share.
I volunteer also with soldiers. I have now 9 soldiers from the Devan that I'm being a mentor for them after they got injured. I have one that lost his leg. I have, different levels of injured. And I can tell you that the evacuation of soldiers now in Gaza, it's an amazing, amazing thing that the IDF did, and people come from all over the world, other armies, to watch and learn. Because, for example, you see this really horrified pictures, young soldier without legs, without hands, God forbid. And one of the doctors told me, listen, this guy specifically, without 2 legs now, 5, 10 years ago, he just was he we couldn't save him. I mean, he was going to die there. But now, because the evacuation is so fast, we managed to save his life. Even though he is in a bad situation, I mean, from the physically point of view, but still he's alive and he's happy. I have a connection for example, with one guy. The name is Boris, and I met him in Share Tzedek when he was evacuated from one of the piers in Khan Yunis. A pier that, if you remember, we had 4 killed there. Yossi Ershkovitz and Moshe Leiter. We had four guys that killed, 4 officers, and he lost his leg. And we have a warm connection. We go out. Now he climbed the Kilimanjaro. Amazing, amazing, really amazing guy. And I think that the connection between the old soldiers like me, or with more experience, but I'm older than him, and the youngsters, you can give him from your experience, from your listen. If I'm looking for about 30 years of experience, you can't have it in 2 or 3 years when you're a young soldier. I think it's amazing that also the youngsters are willing to hear and to make connection with the old guys like me. That they understand that the experience is, I think it's even better or even more important than another percentage of if you're shooting better or less. When you have the experience, everything looks different, because on the first time you meet really a fire on the field, you're shaky and you're afraid. But when it's your 100 times, it's less. You already know what to do, what not to do. You calm down. You're more calm down. You're more cool, let's say.
Barak, your book became a bestseller in Israel in 3 weeks, and it's clear why, because your stories are powerful, your insights are very sharp, and I do hope that all of our viewers listening to you, learning from you, will go onto Amazon and purchase your book, Moment to Kill, which is now available in English. And Barak, before we wrap up, I want to talk about something that is super important, I know, to you, which is that you're talking about now the rehabilitation of soldiers who have lost limbs, what you have done for them. But there's also not just the physical, but the emotional and the mental. And when soldiers are taken out of war and they have to reintegrate into civilian life, it can be a very difficult transition. Many veterans can struggle with PTSD. And I'm wondering if you could share with us a little bit about your own journey of reintegrating into society and the challenges that can pose.
I think that PTSD, or all the mental point of view, in the past, it wasn't such a thing that the IDF, unfortunately, understood how big problem is it. and I think that the army did a lot of big change and did a lot of procedures to change it. Because now first we have the processing, for example, we have now the processing of combat experience before and after the um, if something happens. I mean, if you understand that the main thing of the soldier, with that, of course, he has to run fast and to do, to be strong and to climb walls and shoot and everything is okay. But if his inner core without any strength, it will all collapse in the moment of truth. So you can develop the fastest and the strongest soldier, but if you don't invest, think in his mental base, I think it will not worth anything. And I saw it unfortunately, on the battlefield that we had soldiers that didn't come um, with the mental base strong enough or solid enough, and they collapse. And by the way, I'm not judging them. I mean, it's very hard situation when somebody shoots at you, or when you have wounded the soldiers, or unfortunately you lose friends. If you don't have the inner strength, it will be a problem during the action itself, and of course after that. Today, the PTSD or all the mental there's a subject in the Israeli army is much better. Uh, I think that the army, listen, of course, you can't cover 100% of the situation and you can't cover 100% of the problems, but I think the main idea is that the army said, listen, I know there is a problem here. I want to help you. So, for example, after we finish our, let's say that you're coming for reserve for 2 months, for 3 months, whatever. When you finish it, you have this place that you go with your crew, with your team, and you have to process the combat experience. You have psychological help, and you have more people that comes and help you from this point of view. Um, Also on real time, if we had some problems, so we had people that comes into the field and helps wherever we see that something is getting wrong. I can tell you also in my book, I it was always like the backyard of the army. People didn't want to speak about it, and also of course citizen. I mean, you came back from the war, you're 100%, go back to work. No, I came back physically 100%, but I have things, I think I took to close from myself this event. Um, so the army now is much more sensitive. Also in the book, the book tells about some operation that was failed, without doing any spoilers, failed, and one of the team he never get over it, and he's going to take revenge on himself on his own. It's not supposed to be, because you're not supposed to do any thing like that. You're risking yourself and your team to your mate to the team. But I think that on the bottom line now, the IDF understands, and the situation is much better than I used to have when I was a young soldier. By the way, it's all over the world. People understand that the mental point of view is not, you can neglect it. Um, but yes, I think that now, unfortunately, I know that because I have beside the nine, because the nine, I'm saying in addition to the nine wounded soldiers that I being mentored to them, I have three lone soldiers that I'm being for them like a big brother, and two of them are with PTSD, with very strong one. So I see it close. I can tell you, for example, I can tell you a short story. I went with one of my PTSD soldiers. He has a problem. He can't get out of his house because he has a problem with people, because what happened. So he had to buy a car. So I went with him to the Ministry of Defense, and all the percentage of disability. Anyway, in the end, we went to the Ministry of Transportation. We sit in the office, and you have a line to wait, and there are dozens of people, and you start shivering and start getting tics and stuff. So I said, listen, why what I mean, if you have a car that you're disabled, go over the line. We went over the line, and people started to shouting him because he's not physically hurt, and people saw in 100% young guy, looks very nice, fit and slim and everything. So people were shouting at him, "Ah, what are you doing? It's a chutzpah. What are you doing?" And then he looked at me and told me, "I will. You know what? I had it was so sad. So listen, I should have gone to the army, and maybe if I would shot down and get a bullet, they would understand me. Because if I would come with cane or with a wheelchair, nobody will ask and say anything. Nobody. But here, because it's a transparent injury, Moshe. And by the way, maybe it's transparent, but it's not less, and even in many cases, even more than the physical injury. Because the physical injury, you see it, and people come and shake your hand, say, "Oh, thank you so much." Listen, when I took Boris out from Shaare Zedek to the rehab in Sheba. Listen, it was amazing. I pushed his wheelchair. He lost his head. He lost his leg. I pushed his wheelchair. Listen, there was a line of people standing in the hospital, in the exit. Line of people, all of them shaking his hand, kissing his head. I mean, thank you so much, thank you so much. But the other one, when we went to the office of this registration, listen, he was transparent, 100%. Nobody held his hand. Nobody told him, "Listen, thank you." It was very sad. And he told me, "Listen, I should have, if I would have some bullet, if I take a bullet, maybe people will not ignore me." And for me, it was a very sad moment, because you understand that he got a bullet, not in he got a bullet in his soul, okay, in his heart. You can't see it, but it hurt as much as the physical, and I think even more. I think even more.
That is not easy, and it's really special that you're dealing with that, and that there's now infrastructure in place to make sure the veterans have what they need to deal with these challenges. Barak, let me ask you one final question, and it's a great privilege to be able to speak with you. If you could go back in time and choose the same path with all of the challenges and difficulties incurred, would you do it again?
I want to tell you that me and my friend, we paid a very high price for our service. We have friends, for example, I have two friends that committed suicide out of PTSD. Two. We had another one. He wasn't my close friend, but he was a doctor. I mean, he was all 41 or something. I mean, he's not a young guy, with it hurts. And we paid, and I have friends that got killed in the army. I have friends that got injured in the army. Until now, they're struggling. But you know what? I tell you something. I think that every generation of the Jewish nation has to, in their turn, has to do their best to help to preserve this unique and amazing nation for forever. Now it's my generation. It's my turn. Before it was my father. Now I'm trying. I'm giving the stick to my sons. Listen, we have 4 now in the army. I hope it will end there and we'll have peace and quiet. We hope, but if not, they will pass it to their children and because in the end, the Jewish nation should survive and should prosper forever. And if you have to fight, whatever you can do. Listen, 2,000 years ago, Bar Kokhba people went out and fought the Romans. And in the Holocaust, for example, the partisans, or in the Warsaw Ghetto, people came against the Nazis and fought. I think, Leavdil, we have independent country, but in the end, the fight didn't finish. It's what I said before. It's our independent war. It's still running, unfortunately. But I think if we compare our generation, the situation, and let's say 70 years ago generation, I believe that everyone would have changed with us like this, because we have independent country. Of course, we have what to fix. It's not 100% perfect, of course. I'm not blind. But still, our situation now is much, much better than the former our ancestors. And for your answer, 100%, I will do the same, even though the prices weren't, we didn't get any discount. I think that the obligation of all of us, whoever in Israel, fight in Israel. Whoever, by the way, whoever sits in United States, Canada, Europe, we have another arenas to fight. For example, if you have forced to speak for Israel, if you have again the BDS, if you can donate money, if you can influence your neighborhood, if you can influence your people that work with you. I'm not saying that everyone should go to the UN and speak, but whoever can speak for Israel and help in every way, we all should do it. I'm doing it from my point of view when I take my M16 or my handgun and getting into the Arab villages and do whatever we have to serve this nation. And if your weapon is to speak or to internet or I don't know any political influence about other people, do it, do it because the war is in many arenas. It's not only on the battlefield. You have diplomatic, you have whoever wants to help can find a way. And I can tell you that for me, it was amazing to see people that come from overseas to visit all the injured people and to help us in any way. I mean, it's not only financial help. It's if you come and show them your respect, your love, your warmth. I think for all of us it will be better. And it's of course it's combined. You see now the Jewish nation is combined because people that maybe I don't know sits overseas, they live overseas and thought they're not connected. Suddenly they see you are connected. You are one big. It's a one big family. And I think, for example, when we had God forbid, when a soldier fallen, you can see the grief and the pain in all the communities all over the world. And when we have the hostages now released, you can see the happiness, even though you don't know them. I mean, people are praying for hostages that don't know, didn't, but it's one big family. And I think it's an amazing nation. You see it because there's connection between all the Jews all over the world. You can see it. I much feel it. As I told you, when I got into Gaza, I felt that all the Jewish history and nation are pushing me from the back. And this is what gave me forces because we had very difficult situation inside.
Barak, thank you so much for joining me today, for sharing all of this. I really hope that people go out and purchase your book, Moment to Kill, available on Amazon in English. It not only will give a powerful insight into this war in Israel, it's not only a tribute to the very important work of the Duvdevan unit, but it's really a testament to what you have done really to defend the Jewish people and the state of Israel. And because of the stories, the incidents, the things in this book that came at great sacrifice to you, we have a Jewish state and we can celebrate being Jewish in our ancestral homeland. And that's because of you, your team, and all the people that you have worked with. So thank you so much.
And all the other soldiers, of course, not only my team. We have hundreds of thousands of soldiers. And by the way, we have a lot of civilians that volunteers in people invented Moshe ideas. For example, I used to do, for example, if we have another minute,
Please,
for
please.
example, there was some guy that, for example, there were soldiers that got Sav Shmona, they were called, people came with the car, for example. They left the car at the north and then they were moved to the south. So the key of the key of the car was in the south. The car was in the north and his wife needed the car. So you have to bring so we opened some group with WhatsApp. Amazing. The people who comes from Beersheba to Haifa and and the key, started traveling all over Israel, and then you get a WhatsApp location of a car, somebody you don't know even. He gives you the code. It's amazing. All in Israel, you get into the car, you turn on, and you take. I mean, you can take the car. I mean, people took the cars to the wife of the soldiers from south to north. I specifically bought few cars, and it's funny because you get some WhatsApp. You get into a car that cost a lot of money. You get a code, and people are counting on each other. It was amazing, amazing. This is the only an example. People were cooking for a soldier. People were helping the kids with babysitting. I mean, everything that can help, you can do. It was amazing, amazing adventure. Amazing adventure.
Absolutely. So we'll expand that and thank not only you, your team, the entire military, but all of Am Yisrael, all of the Israelis who really make this country thrive. Barak, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time.
Am Israel Chai.